Welcome to Roland Garros Live with the team from Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. For 15 days, we'll have all the latest from Paris. Come and slide in to play with us on the Terre Battue. Well, welcome everyone. It is Sunday. We're a week into Roland Garros 2025. Roland Garros Live on Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're producing on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, amongst many, many others. Today, my name is Candy Reid, joined by my co-host Mark Gellard, coach of Magda Linette, and also delighted to welcome in Olga Savchuk. She is a former WTA player from Ukraine, top 100 in the world. She is now a commentator, a broadcaster, a mother, a wife, and a legend extraordinaire. Welcome to the show, Olga.
Thank you. What an introduction.
Try our best. We're going to speak about today's results. We now know half of the draw on the WTA side, who's in the quarterfinals, and half of the draw on the lower part of the men's side, who's in the last 8. We've got some surprising names as well. We're also going to look forward to the rest of the fourth round matches that are happening tomorrow, including Jannik Sinner and lots of American women. Let's start, though, Olga and Mark, with what's happened today on the WTA side. We had 4 matches, 3 of them went to 3 sets. I'd love to know from both of you if you thought that was a surprise. But let's start with the first match, the one that really was eye-popping. Iga Swiatek versus Elina Rybakina. Rybakina had the head-to-head lead just about 5-4. And at times, Iga said that Rybakina played a little like Jannik Sinner. Rybakina, who won Strasbourg and is playing awfully well again right about now, won the first set in that one, but Iga Swiatek, being the 4-time champion Olga that she is, roared back. And I just wondered, you have been at Roland Garros, what you've been thinking about Iga's performance, the fact that she hasn't won a title this season, and whether she's going to win Roland Garros for a 5th time.
Yeah, it's a tough one to predict, but I think this win today was massive for her to win this match. As you mentioned, that Rybakina is coming back from just winning Strasbourg in previous week and having a confidence, and she played really some amazing tennis in the first set. So I think it was a massive win for Iga Swiatek, especially mentally. And she loved those courts. She loved how fast it is. She loved the high bounces, especially on center court. So I think it's an extra boost of confidence for her.
And Mark, your thoughts on Iga? We've spoken a little bit about her in the first 6 days of this podcast. You can't really count her out, can you?
You caught me just as I popped a toffee in my mouth, one of my favourite Polish chocolate. I was hoping Olga was going to talk longer so I could finish.
You should have winked.
Exactly.
Need some sign language on here. It was it was an interesting match. I thought the first set wasn't great quality, but then the second set from 2-0 down, I thought the level really picked up, and Iga played some really good tennis there. And it was kind of in the balance in that third set, although I felt Elina was starting to struggle holding serve. So it was just her hanging on a little bit at the end, and Iga, she's won that tournament so many times, so she's so comfortable in that situation under that pressure. So she came through well in the end. And like Olga said, it's a huge win for her.
Yeah, she won it 7-5 in the third. We've seen Iga look a little panicked, a little anxious, a little worried. She hasn't won a title all season in the past, but she just looks like she's more at home here, doesn't she, at Roland Garros, where she's won, 3 times in a row. She's on this magnificent winning streak. And I suppose that helps. You could talk about perhaps places that you went back to play in your career that just make you sort of settle down a bit.
Yes, but also it does put a lot of pressure on her because all eyes are on her. She's expected to win, even though she didn't have a title this year. But it's funny, the tennis, I would say, is quite a brutal sport, right? Like for people from outside, I mean, she's a multiple Grand Slam winner. She is having a huge career, great results, and for her it's kind of an upsetting year so far, so and all pressure is on her. So again, coming back to today's match, huge win, and it does help for sure that she loves this court. She have a lot of great memories, like today also Qinwen talked about it, winning on this court, the gold medal as well, how much it helps her every time she steps on this court. So it does help. It brings good memory, but together with pressure as well, definitely. And
Yeah.
watching Iga's last couple of tournaments, last matches, almost every match she struggles a bit, right? Mentally, you could see she looks a bit panicked, nervous. It's different Iga that we used to see. But I think it's also a part of her evolving as well. I mean, she's still so young. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
would
she's still only
say,
24 and she's been around the block, hasn't she? The outstanding world number one. And we were kind of getting used to Mark Iga winning on the clay without anybody really challenging her. And that had to change at some point. And I just wondered what you thought about that perhaps this is quite good for her. She's got a few more challenges now.
Yeah, I think that's been a big part of the story this year for her, is that she's, for the first time in her career, really facing some adversity.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's had matches where she's faced adversity in the past, but it's a match here or a match there. Now it's been a sustained period of time where she hasn't, I don't think she's been in a final of a WTA or Grand Slam event since last Roland Garros. And it's taking its toll a little bit on her. And it's a little bit of this is kind of what most mortal players are dealing with every week, right? She's not used to this, so it's tough for her. But like how she came through today is really impressive win. So I think that she's only going to get better from this.
Olga, you've done a bit of coaching as well, right at the top level. You've worked with Karolina Pliskova amongst many, many others. And I was just wondering about Iga's relationship with Wim Fissette, the coach that she hired, of course, to bring her more titles, particularly majors. Do you think he'll have a reprieve if she wins Roland Garros? Is he in trouble if she doesn't? What would be your opinion?
What is reprieve?
Well, will he remain, I suppose, as coach?
Yeah, I mean, he joined the team in a difficult moment, right? Like when she, stopped winning back-to-back tournaments for
Yes.
a while. So it's always not an easy job to pick up but I think it's a good new, fresh air for her. It's first time I think she's been coached in English as well, I suppose. So it's a different way of receiving information. So you need time to adapt to that. And I think she's quite good at understanding that it's important to have a good coaching team, good box, strong box, but it's all depends on her, about her performance, about how she's gonna play. I think she's very smart at understanding that still it's about her game, her decisions on the court,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mark, an interesting point that Olga brings up. First time she's been coached in English, because, of course, Thomas Witorowski was also Polish. And you work with the Polish player Magda Linette. How did that work right at the beginning? You were in your second stint with Magda, but if you can recall your first stint and how, if things got lost in translation at the beginning.
It's easier for me because I don't think Magda really listens to me anyway. So whatever I say in any language, it doesn't really matter. It's an interesting one for Iga, because I was a little confused by her comments at the end of last season where she said she wanted to, she was ready to move on now and work with a foreign coach.
Yeah.
That was a little, it was a little strange to me. For me, the best thing for her would have been to find the best coach, whether they're Polish or otherwise. I don't think that it mattered necessarily where they were from. And the coach she had was Polish, and they won 4 or 5 Grand Slams. So I didn't understand that, but it's her decision. I do think she looks like she's lost her identity on the court a bit. She doesn't seem to me like she knows as clearly as she did before how she's going to win a point in a match. That, and like we've talked before, she's got to win 48 points. And I don't know if she's as clear as she was a year or two ago about how she's going to do that. She looks a little bit lost sometimes to me. Although I have to say today was the first time I think I saw her starting to look a little bit more like the Iga of old, I should say. The one that, like you said, she's only 24, but I thought I think that her biggest assets are her physicality and her toughness. And she lost that little bit of, when your confidence goes away, the one thing you don't want is the ball back on your side of the court. That's what you don't want. You want the points over quick. And so she started to be a little bit anxious, a little bit trying to finish too early, when reality is that she's going to out-rally, outrun, outmaneuver pretty much any player on the tour. But that takes a mental mindset, and I think she'd lost that a little bit for the last, 8 months or 9 months, however long it's been. So today was an encouraging win for her.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we've just seen her winning streak at Roland Garros now, 24 matches. She's won the last 3 titles. So let's have a look at other results. She's going to play Elina Svitolina next. So, Olga, this is perfect for you because, of course, you know Elina very well indeed, both from Ukraine. Svitolina, I remember actually doing a few of her matches right before she went on maternity leave and then coming back, and she was just a different player. She went, in my opinion anyway, from a counterpuncher to an aggressive baseline. She's been way more aggressive than she ever was. And she has to be the best player to come back from maternity leave. Belinda Bencic is doing awfully well, but Svitolina is just knocking it out of the park. How has she done so well?
Yeah, it's everybody's question that, I think maybe she relaxed a bit after maternity leave. Maybe she had a nice break, because she had quite a long career. She also started quite early to play well on the tour. So it's been a long career so far, and, so much stress year after year. I think it was the right time to get that break off the tennis. She got a bit hungrier, again, missed a bit the tour. Well, she said she didn't, but definitely. And that hunger again, I feel she has that hunger again to play, and definitely change of style. And it's funny because we did work last season a bit together. I was like as assistant coach to Raymond Sleuter, and I was asking her that question. I was like, what did he change? Like, how come you're a new player? And she was saying, no, I didn't. I play the same. And it's like, this is like everybody speaking about that. It's massive change. It's like obvious. You're hitting harder, you're going for it, you like, so I was quite surprised that she didn't really notice that.
Oh.
And but now, I mean, these past few weeks, she's playing, I think, at her very best.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, always the fighting spirit that she has, you can never underestimate that. I think it's one of her best quality. It's the fighting spirit, like.
And just explain what about her. So you said hunger and the fighting spirit. She's 30, she's married, she's got a baby, she's got millions in the bank. I'm sure she's got beautiful houses. She's set for life. So where is that coming from? Explain that.
I think it's a habit to be a workaholic and a hunger, because I remember her growing up when she was younger, like, playing on ITA Junior Tour and then coming to WTA. And, she always been like this, and she was trained to be hunger, like from her parents. It's coming from really stricted way of training, really stricted way about everything in life, being organized, being every day 100%. And even if you look at her interviews, she often speaks about it. When she was like 5 years old, she already trained at 5 in the morning every day before schools, and then she had another practice after school. So I mean, it's so I think it's a habit of being 150% every day. If she do it 150%. It's a habit. It's not just a motivation. I think it's a habit. Now she has extra motivation for Ukraine. She does so much with her foundation. She's a public figure now. Extra motivation to show kids how to fight. So I think it's all these things come together with the habit of doing it year after year, day after day. That's why she always have that fighting spirit. Even when she feels awful, you can still see her fighting.
That's
never
amazing.
a tank. Yeah.
Mark, how many times were you getting up at 5 o'clock when you were playing? AM, not PM.
Actually, when I was young, growing up, I was always up around that time for practice. But we went. My career didn't turn out like hers, that's for sure.
Didn't have quite the hunger.
No, I had plenty of hunger. I just had no skill.
You've got to have some skill and a lot of hunger. Just Olga, before we leave this subject, I know how much Elina Svitolina cares about what's happening in her homeland. She's doing a huge amount of extra effort. I don't know where she finds the time. But just tell us a little bit more about the off-court activities of Svitolina, because this, to me, is just mind-blowingly amazing.
It is to me, even though I'm so close to her, but I don't like, I'm always asking her how is it possible that, you know, she plays like now Billie Jean King Cup, then win the tournament in Rouen, then going, I mean, quite far in Rome, then coming here. And then she said, oh, I might go to Ukraine, then I go back on grass. It's like, you know, she has a huge foundation which helps a lot of kids in Ukraine, as well as she does a lot with the government, and all the commitments with sponsors that she have in Ukraine, outside of Ukraine, internationally is just and you know what it's about her. Being close and seeing those when she does those sponsorship commitments, right?
Yeah.
Been to few photo shoots last year with her. I was impressed how you wouldn't say she's not tired, but she just, you know, works it. She never like, oh, I'm tired, I can't do another photo. Like she's just there, she's present, she shows up, you know, she does it 100%. And you just like, okay, you just had a crazy day with 3 practices a day. You're on the run, you know, you have your daughter here, you know, your nanny, your mom, like you do all that, you know, you have your husband who also needs care. And then she always in his box, right? Always. Like, so you see her at 1 a.m. matches and then she plays the next day and she shows up like at 100%. So I think she just have unstoppable energy. But she does get tired, but she just like, yeah, she puts the heart on everything she does.
Mark, you often hear players say, you know, after they've had children or an injury or something has happened in their life, that it brought us a sense of perspective, which a lot of tennis players tend to lose sometimes because of how sort of insular they are on the court. Do you think the fact that Elina is dealing with what she is dealing with, you know, what's going on in her homeland has actually helped her focus on what is important on the court?
I'm sure it probably has. I'm probably, as you are, the wrong person to ask. You know, I don't know what that's like. I don't.
Yeah.
I think one thing with Elina though is she was not too bad of a player before she had the baby either. She was. I think she was she 2 or 3 in the world, something like that.
Number 3, Olga.
3, yeah. 17 titles or something.
Yeah, it wasn't like she was a bad player before and she came back. I agree with Olga though. I think she's really changed her style. It's interesting to hear that she doesn't think she has, which is really interesting. But yeah, she's become far more aggressive, and she definitely seems to me now like she plays more to win rather than not to lose.
Yeah.
It's that magic racket that she's talk about it.
The magic racket. Can you explain the magic racket?
I mean, I have no idea, but I just saw it like all of you on TV, and then I asked, you know, that she's been asked an interview, on court interview, and she said it has some magic to it. But apparently, it's very like a powerful racket, but you have to hit with it. You have to be proactive. If you push, it just flies away. So you have to go for it, you know.
And it's just one magic racket. So if she busts a string, she's in big trouble.
No, not one magic.
Well, at least she's got one, because Coco Gauff walks on court with none at all. You know, you've got to be grateful for that. So Iga Swiatek versus Elina Svitolina. It's going to be a 5th time they meet, 3-1 to Swiatek. We'll see if Svitolina can keep her magic run going. Let's go down to the next match. Qinwen, of course, won Olympic gold on Philippe Chatrier last year. She has just beaten Ludmila Samsonova 6 in the 3rd. She's going to face Aryna Sabalenka next. Samsonova, I just spoke briefly to her Italian coach, Danilo Pizzorno, and he was so pleased by the match. He said, quote, "It was absolutely top level. Luda had good chances in the first set. We leave the clay tour as the best of her career. Keep improving," he said. And Mark, I just wondered how important that is, that the coach, the player, even though she lost today in the round of 16, they said that was the best she's played on clay, the best season. So they can now go to the grass with heads held high.
Yeah, I think I have a big respect for Danilo as a coach. I think he's really one of the good guys out there. And obviously Ludmila's a great player. such a nice team. The whole team there has a real good vibe to them, and I'm real happy to see them do well. And probably clay isn't her favorite surface, but I think she's such a good player on also so powerful, naturally good athlete. So it'll be, I'm sure, a real good feeling for her moving on to the grass, which isn't always easy for players to maintain that big picture outlook, because I'm sure there'll be some disappointment from her today losing the match. But the key is trying to now be around people that can see the big picture and hope, that you're trending in the right direction, moving on to the grass. And it's a long season. And if you judge every single match as a sort of a pass grade or a fail grade, it's a really, really long, tough year, rather than trying to sort of accumulate or aggregate a number of good matches. And sort of like you said, he analyzed the clay court season, not just today's match. And then probably after the grass, he'll do the same, and then they get onto the hard court. So yeah.
Good point. We had Craig Boynton on, former coach of Hubie Hurkacz, yesterday, Olga, and he was just talking about how players on the men's side anyway, in Monte Carlo, the standard is not nearly as good as it is in Paris. So they play obviously Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome, then the major, and the level of clay court tennis just improves. Do you see that the same on the women's side?
Yeah, definitely. And the clay court season as grass as well is so short, right? So players have less and less time to adapt, together with playing Billie Jean King Cup the week before, usually the first week of clay, like Stuttgart. And, if you take all those tournaments like Stuttgart on the women's side, indoor clay, which is completely different from real clay, fast, super slippery indoor. Then you go to Madrid, where it's so attitude, you feel like you're playing on the moon. Then you go to super slow and real clay, old style clay, to Rome, right? And then you come to this perfect idyllic clay at French Open. That's where finally everything evens out, and you're like, feel, oh, I'm I'm in
This
a
is
normal.
normal.
Yes. So that, yeah, definitely. And then
It's quite fast, though. That's what we've been hearing. The Paris clay is pretty fast as clay courts go.
Yeah, it's fast, and I think the balls bounce quite high, especially So, but a lot of players like that, and now the season mainly you play on hard courts. Still, probably even the European players who born on clay, they prefer now, towards the end of their career, the hard courts, because you just like play so much on the hard court, you get used to it. So I think the fast clay is good for the players. And and it's become a very physical sport as well. Everybody is much stronger now than they were 10 years ago. So, and very even tennis now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Zhang Qinwen, Mark, probably clay again, not her favorite, but she trains, doesn't she, in Barcelona. She's working with a Spanish coach, Pere Riba, won the Olympic gold medal. What do you make of her performance so far this year? Riba wasn't with her because he was having an operation at the start of the year, and she didn't seem to do so well, but now they're back together again. The results are coming.
Yeah, I would maybe beg to differ. Without looking at her results, I think clay would probably be one of her better results, where she's had her best results on, maybe winning Olympics. I think she did well at the French a year or two ago. She has some very big swings on her forehand and her backhand. So the clay gives her that little bit more time to just set up and unload. I think I would see her struggling a little bit more on like a faster grass court, to be honest.
Yes.
But she's such an athlete. I mean, she's so strong, so big, so strong, powerful. She's just going to be a dangerous player to play on any surface. But I don't think she's had the best year so far, but I think her game style is always one that's she's probably not going to be the most consistent throughout the year, but she's just looking for that one or two weeks in the year where she can put it together and maybe win a slam or a 1,000 level event.
And she's got close, hasn't she, Olga? It seems like Zhang is upset and intimidated by nobody, even though she is very young. Do you hear that from the other players on tour?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I love watching her play. I love commentating on her. I love her game style. I like her presence on the court, I have to say, very confident. And yeah, I just feel everything is, and as Mark said, she is a great athlete. And I think also last year it's been so big and life-changing for her. I think to win a gold medal for China, it's huge. Her life probably changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So this year is more like accepting that and kind of find her, her niche in tennis, right? And go from there up. So it's normal that she's not having yet her best season yet. She's settling down and processing that, and find the right windows for all the off the court, commitments, right? Because for sure it's a lot of them.
Yes.
To also, to be fully focused on the tennis court. And I think great partnership with Para Riber, so successful. And also I like his presence in the box. And they did work together before, then they had the break, right? And then he came back. So I think great partnership. And I just feel she's doing the right things.
Yeah.
And today's interview, I love the attitude. She said, I have a lot of energy. If I need to play 5 sets, I will play. What can I do? We don't have 5 sets. But yeah, that shows that she's fully committed.
It sends a message, doesn't it, to her opponent, who next will be Arina Sabalenka. Sabalenka is the top seed. She's had an amazing year. Hasn't won, of course, so Roland Garros, has got 3 major titles. She has beaten the 16th seed, Amanda Anisimova. It was the only match that didn't go to 3 sets, 7-5, 6-3. Is now the first player, Sabalenka, to reach the quarterfinals in 10 consecutive majors since Serena Williams did it between 2014 and 2017. Olga, that shows enormous amount of consistency, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, she is one of the players who is dominating tennis right now.
Yeah.
As you said, consistent and huge game, huge. And I think the best quality of her is that. And I think it changed a few years ago, where she always been a big player, right, with the big shots, always was like quite brave, but where she decided, okay, no matter what, I'm going for it until the end, and I don't hesitate. And I think that's what clicks in her head, and that's what changed her into very successful and top player.
Mark, Sabalenka, one of those with a really great team, it seems, around her that never changes. They always seem to keep her motivated, keep her having fun. But I think the thing that stands out to me is on the big points, she always shows up. What is that about her mentality?
If I find out that answer, I'll be such a good coach.
You're going to put it in a bottle.
There's incredible self-belief in what she does. I mean, she has that, there's no doubt if you ask a lot of players to rip her down the line backhand at 30-40, there'll be that doubt in their mind that they could miss the ball. I feel like she's been able to completely crush that voice in her head about the thought of missing doesn't even enter her mind. I felt this a lot over the years with some of the top players, whether it's Osaka, Iga at certain times, and now Sabalenka, which is, and I've talked about this with Magda when we're working on the court, and I see sometimes she'll hit a great down the line winner or whatever shot it is, and there's almost a little bit of surprise that I can see when she hits this winner.
Yeah.
Whereas when Osaka and these girls were at their top and Sabalenka now, there's actually a little bit of surprise when they miss. They almost more so, they cannot believe that they've missed that ball. Whereas, some other players have that surprise that they made it or that doubt. It's just that the expectation, the self-confidence, the belief to sort of have no hesitation, no doubt in what they're doing and believe that all the work they've done is paying off.
Yeah,
But
amazing.
I have a question. But do you think that these kind of players, they born with this mentality, or like, do you have to be born with this kind of no fear?
No, for
Or
me,
you
no.
you
For
can
me,
really like fake it until you make it, and then you know what I'm saying, and then you just because. Yeah, I feel Sabalenka was a bit hesitating before, right? When she was top player, top 10 player, winning Grand Slam in doubles, but she was always losing, third round quarterfinals in Grand Slams. And then something just clicked and she said, okay, I'm going to go for it no matter what.
Yeah, I for me, it's you played. I didn't play at that anything like that level, but for me, it's a learned thing. Some people are born with it, and what I mean is that they maybe that's for me talent. They might be born with it in that they don't have to put in as many hours as I do to get to that level. So you could say they're born with certain skill set, but for me, it's teachable and it's learnable. But you have to put in the work. And like you said, I mean, you go back a couple of years, this girl was serving 20 double faults a match. She
Yeah.
was not fulfilling her potential. So if she'd been born with that, I think she would have gone straight up to the top. I think Roger, I think all of those guys is that they have some definite physical attributes that they're born with, right? He's a perfect, you
Yeah.
talk about the classics of Michael Phelps being a great swimmer, but if he was my height and my, he's not making the same kinds of records, even if he swims as good as he does in my body. So for me, there's a physical attributes which are really important, but for me, the mental part can be taught. Do you agree, or you?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. But I still like I couldn't make it. I was always like on important moments. Okay, I have to be brave. I have to be brave. But I always had that doubt. So I'm always interested to hear it from the player or people who actually make it happen. What are they thinking in that? How did they do it?
I think that's
she's
the
done a
question
great
we
job
all want
though
to
with.
ask.
No, I think that she's done a great job because my belief as a coach has to be that it's teachable, right? Because otherwise I feel like I'm going to not be needed. But also maybe you could have done more had you had the right team around you. Had you from a younger age had the, whether it's the resources, the facility, the coach to push or whatever it was, maybe you would have been able to go further and you just didn't quite, maybe Magda would, maybe, who knows, or maybe it would have been worse. We don't know. But I think the resources that she's done a good job of, she had a coach several years ago, then she had Tursunov, and then in the last like 5 years, the hitting partner Anton then moved up into that head coaching role. And I think that's where she's really stabilized. She has him, she has the hitting partner, and then obviously the fitness trainer. I think that the environment creates so much of that belief.
Yeah,
for sure.
Apparently the hitting partner Vasilevsky as well can imitate any opponent. This is what I've heard from her camp, that if she's playing Qinwen, she's playing Elina, he can play just like that player so that she's ready for what's coming. I don't know if he can put the racket in his left hand and play left-handed. Maybe that's a bit beyond him, but that's a serious skill if you've got that on your team.
Yeah, I think a lot of those good guy players can probably,
imitate.
Yeah, they can all pretty much imitate, if they want to hit it flatter or slice or heavier, they can all pretty much do that.
Yeah. That's pretty superb. Right, let's head on to the ATP side. We've covered the WTA side. We'll talk about tomorrow's matchup shortly. Tommy Paul was the first ATP player into the quarterfinals. He's the 12th seed. He's beaten Alexei Popyrin 3-3-3. His first straight sets win after 2 5-setters and 1 4-set. He said it was his best performance at Roland Garros, and he was very pleased, Mark, to get it done in 3 sets because he'd spent so much time on court. And at this stage, for the men in particular, getting off court as quickly as possible has got to be paramount.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a war of attrition as they get further along in the tournament. And I'm not sure who he's playing next round, but, it's going to be one of the big boys coming next, whether it's Sasha or Alcaraz or one of those.
Carlos.
Yeah, you can't play 5 sets in this round and then expect to really have a legitimate shot in the next round against any of the guys. When you start getting into the 4th round and beyond, it's... I think, if I'm honest, and I'm sure Sasha has plenty of the right people telling him this already, but I think one of the reasons for me he hasn't quite got to the slam yet is that sometimes early in the tournament he's gone 5 sets where he shouldn't have done 5 sets, and at some point you have to pay the piper for that. And I think trying to get through as efficiently as possible at the start is really important.
Yeah, this is a quote, Olga, from Tommy Paul. He said, "I'm very happy to get a straight sets win. I've been playing some very long matches, so that felt good." And it is about, I suppose, saving the legs for these guys, even though, as we've said, the court at Roland Garros is a little bit faster than perhaps it was at Rome. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and the next opponent is going to be very fast for him, so he has to be ready. But I do agree especially for the men's, they have to play and be on the court as less as possible if they're looking at the very end of this tournament, at the very end stages of the Grand Slam. They have to save themselves. And it's almost, I'm not on the men's tour, but I hear a lot from the men's tour, the comments around the teams, and the comments are always like, you cannot, you have to be so careful how you start the slam, and you cannot let yourself, be a bit relaxed and loose and give away a set or two, because you need those legs for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And when the 5-setter comes, it's almost like I hear some comments like, okay, if you have a 5-setter in the first or second round, it's like you're done.
Yeah.
Which is not always true, but it plays a huge role.
So Tommy Paul has beaten Alexa Popper in 3-3 and 3. He's going to face Carlos Alcaraz. Mark Alcaraz has come through against Ben Shelton, 3-1. The first set tiebreaker was probably very, very important for Alcaraz that he comes through that. 3 hours and 22 minutes. So that's going to hurt Alcaraz, you'd imagine, just a little bit. I was interested in the serving points. First points won, it was similar between Alcaraz and Shelton. Second serve points won, though, Alcaraz won 2/3 of his second serve points, where Shelton won just 59%. And that's, well, tell us about that. Alcaraz doesn't have a massive second serve, but he places it well, and he defends the point really well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the first set, the 7-6 first set, that was most crucial for Ben to win that. If Carlos had lost that set, I still don't think it would have had much impact on the overall match. I think Ben, from the bits I watched, he was having to redline a lot during the match in order to get to win a set. Really, I didn't see it being a sustainable method. I mean, it's a tough. Carlos is tough to beat on any surface, but on clay, I think Carlos was happy to get that serve in play. Obviously, as aggressive as he could be, but he didn't feel necessarily uncomfortable from the baseline. And as big as Ben hits the ball, he always is able to read the game well. And I think over the course of 4 or 5 sets, he was always going to be the winner in that match.
And he does it, Olga, with a smile on his face, doesn't he, Alcaraz? He's just such good value.
I think he's almost like too excited with all his ability, what he can do with the ball and the way he can move. I think he's like almost overplaying, he's like a bouncing ball to me, super energetic bouncing ball who cannot stop. And very rare, but sometimes I feel he can get caught in those, like, I feel he can do too much with the ball, almost like this, too much options, too much variety, too much power, too much quickness. It's always a bit of danger with the players who are that talented.
Oh, but he is so fun, isn't he? He, of course, the defending champion, Carlos Alcaraz, and will play Tommy Paul in the quarterfinals. Francis Tiafoe has just beaten Daniel Altmaier. 3 sets, came back from 2-5 in the third to reach the quarterfinals at Roland Garros for the first time. Mark, are you surprised how much success the Americans are having, both on the men's and the women's side?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a surface that they've typically done well on. But like Olga alluded to earlier, I think the courts are playing quite fast this year, maybe faster than before. And I believe the weather is quite warm there now. It wasn't when we played our first rounds there, but unfortunately we were gone by the time the weather was warming up. But it seems that the weather's made the courts play a little bit faster, which definitely suits the guys like Francis and Tommy Paul. I also think that there's the level is so good on the men's side, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a window right now where that group just below Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, those top 5-6 guys, there's a little bit of a drop down after that where sort of anybody can do something there. I don't think there's a big favorite. Now that big 4 kind of has gone, there's just, not that they're not being replaced by Alcaraz and Sinner, etc., but there's definitely an area now where I think it's very open. We're going to see some interesting names going through far in tournaments.
Yeah, it's really good. Olga, we mentioned at the beginning of the week how well the Ukrainian women were doing. And maybe people from the same country sort of hunt in packs a little bit, like the US players are doing both on the men's and women's side. Would you agree with that?
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
a lot of Ukrainian women did really well here in Roland Garros. And I wondered with the Americans whether they were kind of all pushing each other on at a particular tournament. It gets exciting. You think, well, she's done it, so maybe I can do it. And that gives you more incentive.
Yeah, definitely. I feel Americans, particularly, they have a good team of girls and guys. They seems like, I've been at Olympics and see them close in the bus, riding from the courts to the village, and they all like very friendly, chatty, knowing each other. It feels like a team. Yes, it's
Yeah.
exactly how it feels. It feels like a team right now. It's not often this way, right? Even if you're from the same country, but with them, it feels definitely like a team. They all kind of similar age. You even see them, going for dinners, boys and girls together as a US team, together. So it's nice to see. It's rare thing.
Yeah. It sounds really healthy, actually. That they're kind of
Yeah.
treating it as that, because we know how lonesome the tour can be. So if you've got immediate friends, and of course they do that so well, don't they, in the college system, where you're taught the first thing, there is no I in team. There is one more men's match going on. Lorenzo Musetti, who's got to be a dark horse given how well he's done on clay this season. He's got to the semi-finals of all the Masters, Monte Carlo, Rome and Madrid. He is 5-4 up and a break on Holger Rune. So that's the final match of the day. Let's look ahead to tomorrow now. Zverev against Griekspoor, Norrie versus Djokovic, Bublik up against Draper, and Sinner against Rublev. Olga, let's start with you because, of course, your husband, Jez Green, works with Zverev. Zverev has done so well here before. He's got so close to winning a major. Griekspoor, he leads 7 matches. How do you think Sasha is playing at the moment?
I think he's playing not bad at all this tournament. He had some struggles in the previous weeks, but overall I feel he's in good form. And of course, Griekspoor, he's openly say it's not his favorite player to play. And the last few matches it showed that pretty much. But I feel he's physically good. He's playing not bad. It's the match to go quarterfinal. I would say it's always pressure. He put pressure on himself to win Grand Slam, finally. So it's always the pressure is there. But also at the same time, maybe less pressure because he lost last few matches to him. Maybe he'll be a bit more relaxed than the previous matches and it will help him. But overall, he feels well. He plays not a bad tennis, and this warm condition actually suits him. He loves to play when it's heat. Because the ball flies faster, and he loves that.
Oh, that's some good inside information, Mark. One of the things that Sasha Zverev said earlier in the tournament was he feels like his bottom level is below the guys, even though maybe his top level is up there with the Sinners and the Alcarazes. He says there's more difference between top and bottom when he goes on court. How relevant is that to most players?
I think that stuff plays out throughout the course of a season. So maybe over the length of a season, I think during a Grand Slam like this, I think he's going to be bringing his absolute best every day. And it's just going to get better and better as he goes. I mean, for me, watching him hitting, it's incredible. I mean, watching him just stand and hit down the middle of the court in practice, it's poetry. I mean, it's so clean. It's such great depth on the ball. It's so efficient. And then obviously you add on the fact that he can move. He's probably got one of the top 2 or 3 backhands in the world on the ATP side. And then monster serve. So I think, I think he's had such a great career and he just needs to keep knocking on the door and wait for a chance because he's had tough guys around him to beat, right? I mean, if you look at the last 10 years, how many people outside of Murray, Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal has actually won anything? The couple for Stan, couple for Cilic, maybe. So there's not been a lot of opportunity. And just as those guys have left, all of a sudden they get that window of opportunity hasn't lasted long, right? Sinner and Alcaraz have already stepped up. So it's tough.
Olga, you'll know better than most, but just when I'm at tournaments, Alexander Zverev plays and practices more than I think anybody else. He's always on court, he's always in the gym. Why does he do that?
I think it's he gained confidence from
Yeah.
that. He definitely gained confidence from being in the gym, that's for sure. And he gained confidence from hitting the balls. And I think he speaks about it as well. And I think it's also a habit coming from the early age. It's Eastern European school to play hours. And yeah, and it's actually scary that even during Grand Slam, he can go and practice the match the day before for like 2 hours. It's like, where do you take those? But you know what it is about him? He absolutely loved to play tennis.
That's
He,
a good place to be then.
yeah, he absolutely adores tennis.
If you had to say, Mark, the winners of those matches, Sinner, Rublev, Bublik, Draper, Zverev, Griekspoor, Norrie, Djokovic, how would you see those four going?
I think the easy one I'll start off is Sinner, will be
No.
Rublev. I would expect Draper comes through against Bublik. I think his consistency and his discipline will be too much for Bublik to handle. I would take Sasha over Griekspoor, and I would take Djokovic over Norrie, although it's not going to be straightforward. I think that could have a little bit of a wrinkle somewhere in it.
Olga, do you agree with Mark said? Did you disagree in any of those matches?
No, I actually agree. Yeah, I think on the paper, Sasha should beat Griekspoor on the paper. And Novak Djokovic, I would go for Djokovic, but agree with Mark, not maybe as straight, because Djokovic in a funny place, right? Like he doesn't play a lot of tennis, a lot of matches, so you never know these days with him. And the rest, I agree. Yeah.
Norrie's coming off a good win over Jacob Fernley. Jack Draper, of course, beating João Fonseca rather surprisingly. Craig Boynton yesterday just said that he saw Fonseca play all three matches, and at the beginning against his old player, Hubie Hurkacz, Fonseca had so much energy, then less in the next round, and then much less against Draper. And Olga, I just wonder, for someone as young as Fonseca is, an 18-year-old Brazilian who's got this kind of football atmosphere like him. I mean, people are just going bonkers for this boy. To cope with all the on-court stuff is one thing, but then to add all the media attention and everybody wants a piece of him and talks to him, and he's probably saying yes to everybody, but I suppose over the years you learn, don't you, what you have to say no to.
Yeah, but I guess he didn't learn that yet. Well, I actually spoke to one of my friend colleagues, one of the commentators, and she said she was interviewing him in South America. And, and then 2 days later, he just came over to her and said, "Oh, thank you so much for taking interview from me." And she thought like it was so nice and so thoughtful, right? But of course, further he goes, less time he would have for that and less memory as well with all the commitments. But it's nice to hear that, he still have a pure heart.
And I'd love him to keep it, because he's just an absolute diamond, and I hope he does keep it. But the commitments are just going to get bigger and bigger. Let's turn our attention now to the women's matches on Monday. Coco Gauff versus Alexandrova. Madison Keys will go up against fellow American Hailey Baptiste. Loïc Besson will face Jessie Pegula, and Mira Andreeva against Daria Kasatkina. So, Mark, let's go with you first. Which of those matches will you definitely be watching?
I'd take a big interest in the Gauff Alexandrova match, actually. I think that's going to be interesting, although I think Coco is going to come through.
Okay.
I think that one could go the distance. It's going to be interesting. If Alexandrova is playing well, she can be borderline unbeatable. She's really a clean ball striker. And Coco, to me, it's the word has escaped me, but it's a little strange to me because I don't think she's playing very well at the moment.
Okay.
But she keeps winning. And
I agree.
That is a really great sign. Like we played her in Rome and we lost in two pretty tight sets, I must say. It was not it was a winnable match for us, and I didn't think she was playing great, but she kept winning. And then I said to Magda, I don't see her doing the same in Madrid. Whatever one the following week was, and she did it again. So I think it was Madrid first, sorry, and then she did it again the following week, making two finals. And she's doing the same thing now. So I think she's, when winning is a habit, and she's sort of in that zone right now where she knows how to win. But Alexandrova is going to be tough. I think Madison Keys will take care of Hailey Baptiste, and I think Jessica will take care of Louis Boisson. And Mira Andreeva, I think, will be too strong for Kasatkina.
All right, head-to-heads, by the way, just before, Olga, you mentioned your picks. 3-1 to Goff over Alexandrova. Kasatkina beat Andreeva in their only meeting. That was last year at a 500 level final they played, and Andreeva should have won that match. She sort of emotionally collapsed, and Kasatkina had to give her a bit of a hug on the podium. Pegula and Louis Boisson, the French surprising player, the wild card, haven't met before, and Madison Keys leads 2-1 over Hailey Baptiste. Olga, of course, Madison Keys, having won Australia, is the only one in contention to win the Grand Slam. Do you think she can do it? I mean, that is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you win a Grand Slam once, you for sure are the one also to look for another one. So, of course, you never sign her off. But of course, clay courts, not her favorite. Even though she has not, she showed not, I think she actually quite improved on red clay watching her matches in Rome and Madrid. I think I did a few matches. I was surprised with some sliding movements, with the movement overall on clay. So I think she did improve, and she's really trying hard to like it.
I would expect her to do better on the clay than the grass, to be honest. Like, I would think she would go further at Roland Garros than she will at Wimbledon.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Only lost 6 matches so far, Madison Keys, this season. 127. That is very impressive, isn't it? And she's the only one in contention to win the overall Grand Slam. So could she win all 4 major titles this season? She's in contention.
I just think everything is in balance right now for her, right? And for a women's player, it is very important. And she's happy outside of the court. She won the Grand Slam, had all her life so many expectations on her, and she finally did it. So I think it took a lot of pressure off. And so I think she's really enjoying right now her life on the tour.
Oh, I think that's so important. Mark, I know I've asked you this before because, of course, you're a repeat on RG Live with us here on Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. But your winners then overall for the men's and women's, given who is left?
I'll stick with Sinner for the men. And
going out on a limb there, Mark.
Yeah, very risky. And I think I said Sabalenka on the women's side.
You did. And you're staying?
Yeah.
Staying with those. And Olga, putting you on the spot, who's going to win the HP side? Who's going to win the WTA side?
I mean, of course, I want Zverev to win. But
that would be good, wouldn't it?
Sinner is a good pick. But for women's, I really want Svitolina to win. I mean, I want, but I also feel that she's capable of. Even though, I mean, you have, Sabalenka and Iga after tomorrow, but like I think she's just flying.
Wow, that would be an amazing story. And just looking at Elina Svitolina's results, she's been playing Roland Garros since 2011. She didn't qualify 2011, 2012. Been playing in the main draw then since 2013. A quarterfinalist on multiple occasions. Has never got to the semis though, Olga. So that is a big shout.
But I think every time she played that quarterfinal, it was quite a mental losses in those matches. It was never, she lost because she was just not a better player. So I feel it was always the mental side to it. So I just feel she's a bit unstoppable right now. Again, if she starts to think, she shouldn't think that much. But I feel she, because the way how she fights, maybe she's not hitting as strong as Sabalenka, right? But she fights crazy well.
She absolutely does. And Mark, if Svitolina does win, it would actually be good for Ukraine and Great Britain because, of course, Alina's coach is Andy Bettles, a fellow Brit.
Yes, yeah. He was with her for a long time, and then I think they split up for year or 2 years, maybe 2-3 years. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah,
And they seem to be, they know each other well, right? It's a good relationship. He understands what she needs. He gives stability, and it seems to be really working well for them.
Yeah, good. All right, well, that is it for Sunday here at Roland Garros Live on Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. Our very much thanks to Mark Gellard. Thanks, Mark, for jumping on the podcast again.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Olga. Appreciate it.
And thanks,
guys.
Olga. I hope you enjoyed it. Olga Savchuk from, what was the career high? 79 career high?
Yes, 79, yes.
And how well did you do in Roland Garros in your career? Singles?
Singles, I think second round, never.
Second round, okay, but still very, very good. And coach of Pliskova and Svitolina, and now commentator, as well as everything else you do. So thank you so much for jumping on.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks everyone. And we'll be back again in less than 24 hours to do it all again and see if our experts' predictions came true. Thank you for watching Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. Please like, subscribe and share, and we'll be back soon with another great episode.